Great. Thanks a lot for everyone for joining this great webinar. So let's start. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone who could make their presence in this amazing media and entertainment industry webinar. Hope you all are having a great day. Today, we have an opportunity to engage in a thought-provoking discussion. I, on behalf of AI Core Spot, welcome all our esteemed guest speakers, the moderator, and all the pretty faces that makes up our lovely audience. So let me initiate with a humble introduction of myself and the company. My name is Nitin Naveen, and I'll be your host for the day. I'm working as Vice President Innovation Strategy at AI Core Spot, and I bring with me an experience of around a couple of decades in consulting firms, dealing in and around the emerging technologies. My colleagues Arvind and Naveen will be assisting me in keeping today's event lively. Also, they will be stepping in to resolve technical glitches, if any. I would like to extend my sincere thanks to them for their hard work and dedication in making this event a great success. This webinar is intended to deliver the new age technological advancements in the current industry with a seamless experience. Speaking about the company, AI Core Spot, let me give some brief to you. We started a couple of years back, supported by our knowledge and innovation partner, InfoVision, and technology partner, Digit7. AI Core Spot aims to function as a comprehensive knowledge hub, offering valuable information and perspectives on a wide range of cutting-edge technologies around Industry 4.0, which includes a lot of things like AI, ML, deep learning, robotics, IoT, edge computing, analytics, 5G, edge AI, digital twin, AR, VR, cloud, and so on. With the objective of offering an in-depth exploration of all the sectors that involves technology, we introduce a different theme every month, and we have been progressively gaining momentum. Our goal is to become the leading AI-driven community worldwide, where individuals with similar interests like you can contribute to mutual growth and success. We prioritize industry-backed webinars and hybrid events, ensuring that our knowledge base is built on credible data provided by esteemed industry leaders, subject matter experts, thought leaders, and all our trusted partners. Further, we nurture the content through various mechanisms like digital content, blogs, videos, podcasts, and newsletters to shed light on the ever-evolving industry. So join us today for one-of-a-kind webinar focused on the impact of technology on the media and entertainment industry. Here we will cover a range of topics which includes AI and Gen AI impact, testing techniques, AR, VR, ROI, impact on jobs, and so on. Our expert panel will provide valuable insights and engage in a thought-provoking discussion that you might not want to miss. And just to let you know, there are lots more in store for the next month with a focus on different technologies like AI, ML, blockchain, IoT, AR, VR, digital twins, metaverse, ChatGPT, and quantum computing. So may I take this opportunity to further request all of you to go through our website, which is aicorespot.io, for future updates. We'll be delighted if you could show your love for us via likes and shares on our social media handles. It will keep you all updated on everything what we propose to offer in the coming months to follow. Now, before we get started with the discussion, here are a few highlights to set up the tone for the great learning and networking day. First, we would like to introduce our community partners for today. It includes great companies, Fox Entertainment, InfoVision, Churchill Downs, and Evo Automation, who came together to make this webinar a success. We also want to give a big shout out to all our attendees who took the time to register and join us today. We know you have a lot of things, so it means to us that you are here to achieve your objectives and connect us with one another. Ultimately, our goal as a platform is to help you gain valuable insights and build meaningful relationships. So if you walk away with even just a few innovative ideas or connections, we'll consider it a job well done. Now let me hand over the stage to Ashish, who is the Chief Business Officer handling telecom, media, and technology at InfoVision. He's also the moderator for this panel discussion. Joining him today are the four great leaders. So let me introduce one by one to all of you. First panel member is Scott, who is Executive Vice President, Head of Creative Advertising at Fox Entertainment. Our second panel member is Cliff, who was Area Vice President, Mobility, Finance, and Enterprise Solutions at AT&T, and he just retired a few days back. Third panel member is Babak, who is Senior Director of Data Strategy and Analytics at Churchill Downs. And fourth panel member is Manish, who is a Senior Director of Product Management at Evo Automation. So just one line of disclaimer before we start. The views shared by the speakers are their individual ones, and it's not related to any organization or wish to hurt anyone. So over to you, Ashish, to begin this exciting panel discussion.
Thanks, Nitin, and thanks for setting the stage and setting the context for this very interesting panel discussion today. Impact of technology on media and entertainment industry. While we are covering media and entertainment industry, impact of technology is everywhere, right? We are breathing, we are sleeping, we are eating, we are drinking. It's all about technology. Everywhere we are going, we are seeing the impact of technology. But I'm privileged to host this panel today. We have and you have introduced the speakers. We have got a technology leaders on the call, and we have got business leaders. And what a great combination where how we are bringing the technology and how the business leaders are leveraging the technology, right, to and take it to the customer. So it's a very, very, very interesting panel, and hope our audiences are going to have a great time. I would really encourage our audiences to ask as many questions as you can, so that you get the diverse views and good insights from this panel. To start with, AI, right? As I said, it is everywhere, and we have got most of our today discussions are centered around AI. And we are seeing a huge impact, right? It's a very positive impact to the technology, and it is to the business, where earlier the businesses were waiting to launch new product or new services for months and months. But today, with the advent of new technologies, the time to market has reduced, right? The possibilities are much more. So Scott, I want to start with you, and you are one of the great business leader at Fox Entertainment. Right? How do you see technology playing a role, especially from your creative standpoint, right? So you are doing a lot of stuff you're taking to the market, and how is technology enabled? So you will be the best person to share this perspective with audiences.
Sure. We this department, the team that I'm in charge of, generates all the marketing materials for all the shows on Fox Broadcasting. And if you could look at AI today as the nonlinear edit system of 20, 30 years ago, if you recall, people used to cut, when they would cut films or commercials, they'd cut them on film. And that was very difficult and very time consuming. And then you looked at the nonlinear edit system, an Avid, a Premiere, iMovie, whatever people use. It makes it so much easier to achieve the creative goal you're trying to get to. So we wholeheartedly embrace using machine learning and technology and large language models to help us, let that AI be a co-pilot, if you will, and help us get to the destination faster, and maybe give us more routes to get there, more opportunities by just making it more efficient. There isn't a concern that I'm familiar with, a real concern about it replacing the creative talent, because it's such a specific talent, and the human touch point and the human compassion and perspective that gets put into the assets that are generated is irreplaceable, arguably, right? But if you're going to help me find my footage faster, help me come up with different ways to say something, help me come up with different ways to do some technical thing like rotoscope someone, cut somebody out of a moving shot, which used to take a ton of time. And now it's much faster. So now it's not about the tasks to get there. It's about getting there and making the thing that you're trying to achieve or generate the best version you possibly can. So for us, it's efficiencies and options on our way to a creative destination, if that helps answer the question.
Absolutely. And I think that gives a very interesting insights. And I'll go to Cliff. Scott was talking about how we are leveraging the data on the real-time basis, right? And how the real-time data is helping in solving various things. So, and you have worked in AT&T for 21 years, right? And you guys are pioneers in rolling out 5G and the edge solutions. So how is that real-time data and your edge solutions are coming together to solve various things for customers?
Absolutely. So I think that the first thing that we have to look at it is the speed by which you can deliver AI capabilities is really dependent on that connectivity component, right? And with the advent of 5G and now all carriers moving into the 5G standalone core, because prior to that, we were on the non-standalone core because of the 4G LTE evolution kind of moving into 5G. But now that most devices are 5G capable, the standalone core carriers are moving to that. That enhances and delivers higher speeds and capabilities that we've not realized in the past. Additional capabilities, not only for higher speeds for both download and upload speeds, but also low latency, which is really much needed, especially when we're talking about video capabilities from and broadcast capabilities from that end. Further capabilities associated with carrier aggregation. That is essentially taking spectrum, think of them as lanes of highways, and aggregating them together to create super highways that delivers faster capabilities. And then on top of that, now the capabilities of network slicing. Again, this is all not out yet, but these are the promise of 5G network slicing, which essentially allows a device to know what application it's going to be running and essentially giving it a preferred data stream within a cellular infrastructure. Now, what does that mean? If you look at it, media and entertainment and broadcast in particular, you're able to essentially, and really this is where the capabilities AI is, the more real time, the more data you're able to ingest and put it into that formula, the more precise your output is going to be, or more creative, let's say, in terms of generative AI, your output is going to be. So that's really helping the speed of that technology. And then more so in terms of fixed entertainment value, because I support the largest media and entertainment and sports teams in the organization. You're looking at stadiums, for instance. All stadiums today are 5G capability with a lot of broadband Wi-Fi fixed capabilities there too. Meshed together, combined with the ability to look at the fans and how that fan engagement is supported is really key in terms of enhancing not only the fan experience, but also generating additional returns on that investments for many of those organizations that are really catering to the fans' needs.
Yeah, no, I think that's a very great insight, and we will come back and talk about more on the fan experience and some of the use cases, which in fact at InfoVision, we are building some great use cases for enhancing the fan experience, whether it is AI or it is AR, VR, but we will talk about it more. But going to Babak, to you, and I know your questions are very interesting. So with the way you shared and you put it across, and I was very intrigued with the way your thought process is coming. I think the first thing is digital transformation and AI ML based transformation. These are two different things, and I think you put it in a very well articulated way. So please tell what is the difference, because normally everyone is being digital transformation, so all the technologies will come in the digital transformation, right? So what's the difference? I think that's a very good way to start with.
Yeah, so first, hi to everyone. Thank you for coming here to listening to us. Digital transformation, what I can say is, let's think about the last decade of the previous century. That's like kind of a big word. 1990s, we had email coming into the mix. We had all those Word document processings, all of those applications that they were coming into the mix. So then people stopped to use typewriters. People stopped to use sending paper trails, all of those. That was the first steps of digital transformation. But then business units like Scott's business unit saw great value into using those technologies. So they started to bring those technologies in themselves. They started to ask for more and more. So that was the first steps of digital transformation. But then companies and enterprises and corporates, they understood, oh, there is all these things. So they started to centralize those. That was the second wave of digital transformation, that they brought centralized emails, they brought things like SharePoint. So then there's a centralized document sharing, all of those. They were all good, but they started to create a lot of data, a lot of clutter. And then the next wave was machine learning that started to come into the picture. Again, business users, again, like Scott's team, saw the value in using machine learning in editing videos, fixing the audio problems in a recording, all of those. So they started to use those. But then they slowly started to see, oh, there's other things that we can do. There is our thought process, our business processes, that these also can change. So that was when the digital AI and ML transformation started. So they help us to change our business processes. Kind of, I can say, we can revolutionize our business processes, because we are still used to be that paper trail centric. We are using emails, but it is still in the mindset of that paper trail. If we go towards more AI, more automation, more machine learning, there are a lot of things that are coming. And again, as Scott mentioned, what is a lot of people are worried about is, by bringing these things, we are changing the business process, but we are not removing the human aspect. At the end of the day, the human aspect is the one that has all of the personal touches, all of the understanding, because AGI, we talk about it, but it is not that close. So that human aspect is still there. We're just trying to streamline our business process as much as we can do, so then we can be more efficient. I think that's kind of the big difference business-wise that I can put.
No, thank you. Very well articulated. And Manish, coming to you, we are talking about technology. We are talking about digital transformation. We are talking about, what are the different business use cases, and we will talk about more. But I know your job is very tougher job as a company. How do you ensure the quality is delivered, right? End of the day, when something is released to the field or to the market, consumers are not facing the challenges, right? So everything comes back to the quality, and you guys are pioneer into that area. And I know you guys are leveraging AI and ML a lot, but please tell us your thought process.
Sure. So you rightly put, we are on the front line. So anything goes wrong, we are shot first. Right? But yeah, we know that for a fact that, embracing automation or testing to the full capacity is still a growing path or evolving path, right? We know that for sure. Not most of the enterprises have gone to the limit where they have automated their entire processes or products for that matter, right? So the challenge is, one, in terms of adoption, right? And then second is the outcome of it, right? So if you see the way we are looking at AI, and some of the colleagues have already alluded, we are also looking at making jobs more quality focused and reduce the redundancy of the work, right? So the humans are not getting replaced, but humans will be used for making those algorithms, those models more and more smarter, so that whatever was taking earlier, let's say some 10 hours or 15 hours of job to be done manually, should be reduced and shrink to, let's say, in hours and minutes, right? So that's the goal. We do look into different pockets from a test automation platform perspective, how and where we leverage AI. So right from a legacy system which was built in, let's say, 1980s, that is very hard to test, right? How do we use vision AI in order to detect elements out of it, versus if there has been a very constant upgrades of, let's say, products, each release by release, it's very tough to maintain your test scripts, right, at the same pace. So how do you do those auto remediation, right? Or the self-heal term that we use in the testing world. Those are the areas. And then again, the point of the entire making this quality foolproof whenever we give our product to the customer is that the theory of testing once things are done should probably be an old school thought process now. What we say and we think and we preach and we also follow is that we feel testing should be also more proactive. Yeah. So you should know the behaviors of your application landscape, where it sort of had glitches in last 6 releases, where it cracked, what has been the problematic area. Has it been your middleware or a front end or your back end, anywhere, right? And make sense out of it, so that even before a developer commits a code, right, the testing, or there should be a quality gate already by default automated that should flag, hey, you know what, this does not look like a quality code that should be injected in the main branch. So having said that, if you keep those gates and those automations and right algorithms at the right place, I think then that's what makes our life more easier, and sort of commit to what we actually give our customers, that will give you a quality product and a continuous testing platform, right? So that's how we see it.
Yeah. No, that very well said. And Scott, coming back to you, what are the trends which you are seeing, or evolution which is happening in your sector when it comes to from the business standpoint, and how then again coming back to the technology, because technology is enabling that, right? So yeah.
A couple of the biggest trends we're seeing is you've had for years, decades arguably, all these disparate platforms or all these formats where entertainment content is being captured. Pardon me. So this show is shooting in this fashion. This show is shooting on this format. They're shooting with these cameras. They're shooting whatever frame rates, and they're all storing them on separate platforms, and they're all working with them in separate interfaces or edit systems. And we've got an infrastructure here. I tried to get Christian to join us, but he's actually on an airplane at the moment. And we're looking at how does our infrastructure that we have that supports creative advertising, which is rather robust, it's a 35-person team that supports the infrastructure of marketing. How does that team use all the tech that they can get their hands on? And they're really into it. They'd be far better guests than me. How do they take those things that they've learned in the process of building our infrastructure to support all the footage that comes in on our shows that we use just for marketing? We're the team that just creates new marketing materials. But what about the team that cuts the shows, the series, the movies, the whatever? How do you set up an infrastructure to where it can be shot anywhere at any time and be brought in real time and utilized immediately? And we did this about 2 or 3 weeks ago. We did a shoot in Ireland, and we needed the footage right away because the spot was going to go into a big baseball game. This might have been in July, actually. It was going to the World Series game. So we were getting the footage days before it was going to air in a placement on air. And usually that would be an impossible thing to turn around because it'd have to be uploaded. We'd have to pull it in. We'd have to re-encode it to fit our format. And instead they had a platform agnostic interface that said, doesn't matter what you shoot on, doesn't matter what the file format is. On its way in, we're going to convert it with this machine learning, these systems, and we're going to have it ready to be used. So it really, again, to everyone's point, it's about efficiency of creative execution instead of the stumbling blocks of getting through the technical steps to get your hands on the asset to generate the thing you need to generate. And now the footage comes in real time in many cases, and it's being worked on while they're still shooting, which they used to do on sets. But now they can do it remotely around the world because we've set up the right infrastructure using all of this technology. And that's one of our biggest, again, it's all about expediting. Instead of it taking 10 hours or 10 days, it's taking hour or minutes, as it was said earlier.
Yeah, no, great points. While you gave some good examples, Cliff, to you, and I know you were talking about the fan experience and engagement, and I think that has become a very key, whether it is using AR, VR, or it is enabling through edge use cases. So talk about more what you guys are seeing from the fan experience and what the consumers are looking at, right? Because then, it also gives a huge amount of monetization opportunities for providers, right? And once you provide a better experience, then you have a cross-sell and upsell from the monetization standpoint. So please talk about your perspective. You're on mute, Cliff.
I'm going to take Scott's lead from that because that's, I think, a perfect segue to kind of an example of how you do that, right? Because Scott's is a question of what real-time connectivity can really do for you and edge capabilities on the network, which we know what carriers are doing today, right? So really, you ingest the data. You essentially, ideally, have a cloud-based infrastructure, an edge infrastructure that's as close to that mobile infrastructure, that connectivity infrastructure as possible, editing things real time, and then presenting an output that's going to be acceptable to the end user. So think of it from a stadium standpoint today, right? You're a fan, and typically most fans will carry a cellular device with them. Most of these stadiums have, basically high-speed broadband capabilities to there, whether it's through cellular, through high-band connectivity through cellular, or through really just gobs of gigabits of data of connectivity, of internet connectivity at the stadium. Well, there's a lot of cameras around those stadiums. Again, anonymized data. I'm not gonna go anything that's going to be that we have to be careful about, but it's anonymized data, so you can really see kind of how the fan is engaging. You can probably even guess the age components of fans in a particular section, or how they're responding to that in real time. Then you can actually take that initiative, mash it with, okay, what are their social media typically saying? Oh, it's a particular situation of a player. Can you not present that then to either the scoreboard on a replay of what that player did, or just even to that device of that individual to say, watch the replay of this particular running back break the tackle, while everything else is going on, right? Because you can't ingest the whole field. You can actually do that. And so what stadiums are typically doing today, and what sports teams are typically doing today, is that level of fan engagement, sometimes at a fee, right? And that's really one of the things that's really happening. So if you look at, let's say, Mercedes-Benz Stadium, there's capabilities that's being delivered, let's say at the Perch, for instance, that has a different, unique fan experience that people would want to pay into, for instance. Or to your point, around AR, VR, where you basically would watch a baseball game, but you want to get the fan, especially the younger fans, really involved in it. Can they see themselves out on the field with the actual professional players pretending to play baseball with them in that? And there are some rooms now that are being set up in many stadiums that can essentially deliver this enhanced capability. And lastly, concessions and advertising, right? In terms of how do you use weather? The weather itself can be able to be a predictor of the thirst factors of people, and perhaps being able to now advertise concessions on where they're at in these particular stadiums, on where the nearest concessions is, using, again, AI to kind of help generate the pull for particular consumers of that particular beverage, for instance. So those things are capabilities today that's just being scratched right now by many organizations.
Yeah. No, thank you so much. Yeah.
I want to add to that. Could I add to that, if you don't mind?
Please.
Just next door in the sports building, we have a premier sports stage where they broadcast the NFL games, right? And they have an XR, AR end of it, right, with the giant screen in the floor. And then they have screens everywhere. But to that point, if you had, let's say, the most recent Aaron Rodgers injury during the Jets game, and if they could, the minute that happens, get that up on their AR, XR stage, and a show host can walk into the game and say, if you take a look here, it looks like this is what happened. Instead of it being, I'm going to talk about it and then show you the clip over and over in kind of 2-dimension, I can be in the action and say, this is what happened. And having those cameras and that tech and that real time, as you said, happen makes me, as a viewer of football, let's say, like watching Fox broadcasts, because, wow, they really put me in the game, literally in the game with the guy analyzing, in this case, an injury or an amazing play, as you noted. So, and then we're seeing, and anybody on this panel that's attending, if you're in LA or if you're going to be in LA, hit me up and I will take you and show you this stage in person. It is amazing. And it's exactly what you're talking about. It's being able to use whatever technology is coming in and whatever footage can be used as fast as possible for the sake of creating a more engaging broadcast experience for the user.
We will take that offer, Scott, any day. So we will definitely come and see
everybody.
But thanks for offering. And go back to you. You talked about digital transformation, AI ML based driven transformation. How do you plan that, right? Because the transformation word itself is very, very heavy word, right? So, and there are so many eyes on you as a technology leader. What is going to happen? But when I'm going to see something, right? So, and how do you ensure that you are covering the stakeholders, how you are keeping them updated, and give us some examples. Like, you are listening so many examples, and give us some examples from your perspective.
So when you're starting program of AI, ML, and digital transformation. So this program needs to be first tuned exactly to the business objectives. So what this department, what this organization, what this company is going to do. So an example, getting from Scott's examples. So you have multiple cameras. It's a new team. They have some 4K cameras, some 8K cameras. They are recording. The problem that they have is because these cameras, they have different technologies and different formats, the signal that you're sending is different. So then the picture quality from different angles changes. We have seen this when the cameras were moving from analog cameras to digital cameras. So they had like the saturation, the color, everything was different between these two. So this is a problem. So they have this problem, they come with this problem. So a team first has to understand this problem, has to understand what is the actual problem, because at some point business might ask not the problem itself, but a solution that they think is for the problem. For example, on this one, they may say, how can we use AI ML to improve the 4K camera's quality so that they can get the picture? But if you understand the problem deeply, you can see the problem is not the quality, is the difference between the pictures, the difference between the signals that they're coming. So a team might suggest an AI and a machine learning solution might be to downgrade the 8K camera so then it can match the 4K camera. And then now you can process both pictures the same, and then now the signal is the same. So that problem is gone, especially because on our digital signals, we still don't have 8K. So that 8K at some point is going to be, downgraded and downframed to the 4K. That's one example. Another example from Cliff's discussion about fan engagement. So one of the problems that I have been dealing with that a lot was, for example, we have 40 million reach throughout all our social media. And these people, they have questions and they're asking those questions. We don't have 40,000 service support team here to be able to answer those 40 million people, 1,000 each. We don't have even 1,000 service members sitting here waiting for to answer those people. So the problem that business has is business wants to improve the guest experience, because we believe in guest experience, because this is like we are experts in providing the best experience that you can get, the most luxury experience that you can get when you come to Derby. And we want to improve it throughout the year. So one of the problem is how we can improve that. So they may think they need to hire more guest service supports, but then throughout the year, they are going to sit idle. A machine learning solution for that problem can be, we're talking about generative AI. Let's create a chatbot that understands our business and then can answer those questions. So that's one example. Another example, again, understanding the business. Cliff was talking about the drinks. We have at Derby, 150,000 people here. At Oaks, 150,000 people here. And throughout the Derby week, we have 500,000 people about here. These people are in different places, but different places are different types of people. And we can profile or group people saying this group of people prefer this type of beer more than the rest of the drinks. So let's put this type of drinks here. This group of people prefers this type of food more than the rest. Let's put more of that food here. So that's kind of the understanding of business. But then after understanding the business, now you have to go through all the problems that they're asking you and finding out which one you can solve faster. So because you want to keep your business engaged, you want to give them answers. So which one you can solve faster. Then you have to check to see if you have data to support that. If we don't have the data, we cannot touch that question. We have to go and build the data, and that's a lengthy process. So you have to go back. Then after finding out which data you have available out of those, let's say, low-hanging fruits, we can choose a group of those projects and call them the pilot projects. From this point on, it's all collaboration, communication, listening, teaching and learning. Again, listening, teaching, and learning. You have to walk with the business all the time. You have to understand what they are asking. You have to understand what is their pain. Even if they don't understand a solution that you're going to put there, you have to do your best to educate them. And this education has to continue all the time, because you want your business users to ask better questions on the next project. You want them to, you have to both educate yourself and also educate your team, because this partnership is going to result in quality products. And then there is developing the model, then testing and validation, then integrating the model into the business process, then measuring and monitoring to making sure everything is correct, everything is based on all the results that you wanted to get. And then after your pilot projects work fine, now you can scale them up into, you had a part of business using this, now you can scale it up to the rest of the business. That's also something. And then you have to continuously improve this. So that's the way that I think you can start these projects. My three most important things in all of the data, AI, and ML projects is listening, learning, and educating your business users, and be completely step to step dance with them all of the steps throughout the end of your projects and next project and next project.
Very, very well articulated. I think that, thanks for that. And Manisha, just to take a few things which Bobak said, right? While businesses are adopting continuous testing, right? But on the same time, they are also embracing, continuous integration and deployment, and that makes the things very tough, right? Because what Bobak said, right? You need to build and then take it to the business and then integrate it there, right? So how you are helping and enabling that?
Couple of things, right? Before I jump onto your question specific. So the way quality definition has actually evolved from last couple of decades is not just about less number of bugs means your product is good. Or if your support tickets have been reduced, you mean less noisy customers. So, okay, we are in a happy zone, right? That's not the case anymore. We see that they have also evolved, and they do talk about from an end-to-end spectrum perspective. Now, when I talk about end-to-end, if I see a typically an SDLC process from planning to development, testing, and deployment, right, and then release afterwards, we have infused AI in such areas in which the number one goal that we have seen, and that's what our customers have told us, is that how do we actually reduce manual effort? So if we see again from development to release cycle, right, where all manual efforts have been there, number one definitely is the manual testing, right? So with that, test automation platform sort of covers that patch, but in that itself, there are areas where you have to create still manual test cases. So you see some new requirement coming, you see some change requests, then there is a BA team or a product owner team sort of deduce some logic out of it, and then they go about it. So idea is that how do we automate that? We use LLM, and then that's where we train our engine that sort of keeps feeding on these all SRE tickets, support tickets, bugs, user stories, epics, etc., etc. And then what the output basically gets is all your manual test cases generated. So that's number one, where all your manual work has been sort of reduced, and all you need to now use is that as a document, as Bible for your automation scripts. That's gone. Then the second part of it is how we are using AI is once a code is about to be merged or let's say leveraged, then you need to understand there has to be certain hygiene practices, right? So what is the best practices of writing a code? What should be the commenting mechanism? What should be, the way the code should be interpreted, etc., etc. So that's an area where, again, in terms of code hygiene, code coverage, unit test, coverages, etc., comes into picture, so that the testing is not just the one department, I would say, or a one team's job. If you sort of maintain this over the entire cycle, right, and helps them, that's when the main thing, the main demand of the enterprises would be like, how do we go faster to the market, right? And that's how you do it, right? Similarly, how soon can you react to your tickets? How soon can you react to your support ones, right? Support informations. And then how does that get inculcated to your backlog, to epic creation, to development, to testing? All of that automation piece that you see, right, is where the major pockets is where, I see definitely investment going to be happen in coming days. And how I see a test platform or a testing company would not just limit themselves to, providing one or two dimensional features or functionalities. It's going to be, the entire thing. So coming back to CI/CD, you rightly said, integration is there, deployment is there, but the testing piece is still somewhere people are embracing, or they don't know how to crack it. So it's a very simple fact. Theoretically, if you see, the moment the code gets merged, right, your testing should start happen automatically, right? And your tool has to complement to all your DevOps, let's say pipelines, whether it's Jenkins or Circle CI or Bamboo or whatever. So the way these automation tool has to work is not in isolation. Point is, it has to work almost in tandem to these DevOps pipeline, so that it's a continuous thing, right? You don't have to wait for your shop to be open next morning and then your testing team looks into the tickets. Oh, these are the things that I need to test, and then again it goes. So that's not going to solve the purpose. In the days of agile or the safe ways of development, you have to embrace this. The moment code gets checked in, the testing has to happen, the report has to auto generate, and that auto generation has to go back and feeding back to your your requirements pipeline or backlog, and then you continue in a iterative fashion. So that's how I see it.
No, very well articulated. I think that's that. Thanks for sharing. And Scott, coming back to you, while a lot of technology we have been discussing in last 40 minutes. What are the challenges do you see today?
Literally, I see picketers from SAG and the Writers Guild right outside my window on Pico Boulevard. And one of their main concerns, and this is not uncommon for people in front of the camera or people that are heard, is their likeness is going to be used without their consent or without their compensation, right? And so I think a lot of tech companies have talked to the White House about how can we monitor this and make sure it's used responsibly and ethically and all that. And so that's one of the main concerns. And then I think there are just a little bit more paranoid individuals, if you will, creatives are very sensitive types that immediately, anytime something new comes along, they're like, well, how's this going to change my life or how to change my job? And it's hard I challenge them and say, look, we don't know how it's going to change your job exactly. And I know that articles like in New York Times yesterday about Google, I think, dismissing a few team members from their recruiting team so they could save some money and invest more in AI aren't helping the concerns. But I encourage them to, instead of focus on what's happening outside of there, know that this is going to be part of the fabric. Just like you use technology now that 20, 30 years ago didn't exist. Embrace that, right? And I think it was mentioned earlier about uniform color correction. And I thought of an example the minute that was said. We have a 60-second trailer for the Simpsons season that plays at the beginning of the season, always after a football game. It's our biggest and broadest reach. And this 60 seconds of Simpson footage, and they had to expedite some of the footage or some of the actual animated clips for us to use. And Homer Simpson's yellow, the yellow of Homer Simpson, is different from shot to shot, depending on when you get it from them. If they have not had a chance to go through and make sure it's all uniform, and we get a bunch of different shots from a bunch of episodes, it could be different. So we used internal machine, devices and learning to say, hey, this is the yellow we're going for. This matches the yellow they say that's his yellow in daylight and night, whatever. And let's go. And it took all the new clips, made them the uniform yellow. So when this spot plays, there's not this weird, why is Homer changing colors, right? And so to me, they're seeing in real time examples of how this helps us do what we're supposed to be doing. I can't really speak to, sorry about that. I can't really speak to how we tackle the ethics of it or the copyright of it or the ownership and the licensing and consent and the compensation from the actor point of view or the writer point of view. And I know the writers might even be more concerned, but those are our challenges is, there are no dramas in production because that's one of the points of contention in that strike. And so our schedule now until at least January is going to be mostly reality shows, unscripted shows, cooking shows, whatever shows. And then after January, going into the, mid-season, into the spring and into the summer, you might see scripted dramas show up on air. You might not, because they might not solve this in a timely fashion. So we're in the middle of it, if you will.
Yeah. And I think just to add on this, there is a lot of, and I would like all the speakers to give their point of view, because there is a lot of talks around one of the challenges, definitely what you guys are seeing. Please cover that, but also in addition to, is the AI is going to take my job away, right? So that's the word everywhere you will see people are, and you talked about the article yesterday which came in. So yeah, I'll have all the speakers to give their perspective.
Yeah. So let me share. So as a consumer of content, maybe I'll just lend my perspective to what Scott's saying, because I don't. I mean, on the one hand, I can see what the actors, the Screen Actors Guilds are concerned about, and the writers are concerned about. But I always see this as the train's there, the disruption is happening, and so I think we all need to learn, because we in telco are seeing that same disruption. We're using AI in terms of how we handle and manage our networks to the benefit of the end users, right? But sure, it may have impacted folks who used to be working in the network that now AI is replacing, because there's built-in intelligence that can move much faster and much more reliably. But I think much like CGI transformed how movies are made, and now a lot more consumption of said movies. I think generative AI has its place, but they are right. We have to keep it in check, right? In terms of the creative elements that essentially needs to be, supported from those. The technology is there, so rightly there. The concern is real, but at the same time is how do you I think the biggest challenge now for SAG and all the technology organizations is how do we use it in its proper sense, ethically use it, understand. And I know Scott's Fox is probably one of those folks that are also concerned about fake fake news, right, being impacted, because again, the capability is so real. So there's going to be checks and balances, like all things, in my opinion. And I think, I still believe in the human element. We find a way to make things work. In terms of developing progress, it may stifle it a little bit, but I think most often than not, this iterative process that we go through as humans versus AI, it's really not versus. How do we essentially collaborate with the technology and use it to the best of our abilities to propel us even further?
Thank you. Babak, Manish, your perspective?
I think my 2 cents to this is there is definitely going to be the growth in this space, right? When we say this, and there is already a big shout around, generative AI, ChatGPT, likes of similar platforms, and then all of a sudden there's a parallel universe of LLM models like Cohere and Entropy also coming up, because it was existing, but now together it becomes a very compelling pitch and narrative in the industry, right? So not that these were not there earlier, but as a together partner, definitely it makes it very compelling. But I do believe that in order, when you make some investment for a growth, right, it's not going to happen automatically, right? You need humans for that. So today, if my use case is how do I reduce the manual effort or increase the productivity, or how can I generate test cases automatically, and similar stuff, I need somebody, 4 or 5 engineers, to sit on it and to train that model and tell them day by day how that engine needs to be smarter. So resource count is still intact, right? What I'm doing is I'm actually using efficiently their usage of time in not doing something which was redundant, in not doing something which could have been better handled off, if I can say it that way, or they could have been managed well in terms of their own throughput, right? So that's how I see it. And then, of course, the conversation is all about the efficiency end of the day. So I think combined wise, and I do remember there was a very, a very good speech between, Alibaba CEO and this our Elon Musk, whether human will replace machine or machine will be dominant, right? It's a very famous conversation over YouTube. Anybody can go and watch it. Though it's a very important perspective, I do incline more towards Alibaba CEO Jack Ma, because I think we make machines, and I think when we make machines, so we know how to train it, tame it, or call it whatever. So I think nothing's gonna sort of, disappear overnight or even in decades to come. That's my thought.
Thank you. Babak.
My example is kind of this in the same line of everyone else. Previously, we had people that they were working with metal, with their hammers, with their ovens and all of those furnaces and everything. So they were doing all the metal work manually. And we had the Industrial Revolution. We had all these industrial machines. Then we had the digital revolution, and we had CNC machines. They didn't go out of the board. CNC machines, you can program them, they can build everything automatically, but they learned the language of CNC and they started to use those machines. Another example that I have in our business, my job is to increase the revenue of the company through AI and ML, and also improve the customer experience, so retain my customers and bring new customers through AI and ML. So with this, because there is a lot of AI and ML in part, there is a lot of people that they are thinking, okay, so if this guy is doing this, then they're going to replace the reps, the salespeople, or the guest services, or the concierge with some machines, robots, codes, anything. But the difference is, previously we didn't have the bandwidth to understand what our guests want. Now we have, with AI ML, we have built that bandwidth. After that, after understanding what they want, it's time to action. So for action, we need the human capital. We didn't have the bandwidth to bring as much leads as we can generate right now. We are generating hundreds of times more leads than before. For that, we are not letting go away, like we are not retiring our reps. We have to hire more sales reps because this bandwidth is bigger. Now we have chances to have more events, more extravagant events, more luxurious events, and all that is because of AI ML. And we need more human capital to support those. So this is in this business, that was in that business. And again, back to something that like all the media, all the creative that Scott's team is able to build. Previously, they had bandwidth of creating something by a team of people. Now that team of people can create more products, and then instead of fillers that they have, there's a lot of, in media, there's a lot of fillers that we have. We don't have anything to show, we have to fill it with this. Now they can create more content with more people because, again, the technology is there. So that's my take of it.
Thank you so much. We are reaching to the top of an hour, but there are a few questions which I would like to cover quickly. Anyone can give the perspective on this panel. So the first question is about intellectual property. How does intellectual IP get protected, especially in creative functions and in the era of generative AI? So Scott, maybe you want to cover this.
Yeah, I think aren't they trying to draft up software and programs that can actually determine the source of the asset, all the pieces of the asset? They're trying to write that. I don't think it exists, but it's one thing to say, hey, where did this originate? Where did this original article, where did this source come from? If you have something that's it's been data scraped and you've got it from so many different sources that creates this one thing, and it's not an easily recognizable thing, like it's not an obvious actor or whatever, I think that gets trickier as to how you say what you can and cannot use. For example, it's a simple thing. We could easily have AI generate voiceover if we needed to, but we have an agreement with SAG and with the voice unions that says, no, on our air, we use real voices. We've never had to have this agreement really get challenged because we've not thought about using AI voices. But at some point in time, what if I want to have an AI generated voice because it's a character I create in my campaign as part of the fabric of the campaign? So for us, it's challenging depending on what it is that's being generated. And when it's creative and it's just, oh, I just found this on the internet, which is why we have gates and limitations at the Fox Corp level that say, hey, this is what you can and can't use right now, because it's not regulated enough for us to be able to trust their sources that have been cited. It's like licensing a photo, right? Licensing stock imagery. You can't just go grab it off the internet and use it on air because it might not be clearable or cleared. But you can go through proper channels and say, is this one? Yeah, I can use it. Okay, I'll pay you that fee and it's good. You've already taken care of licensing. So for us, it's trying to figure out what those official protocols and parameters are in using that sort of generated content in our campaigns.
Yeah, we don't want to have a situation where digital avatars are giving the news going forward, right? And all the lip syncing and everything is happening from the back end. Yeah, no, thanks for covering it. Anyone else want to give any perspective? Otherwise, I'll move to the next question. So the other one is, what are some common hesitations among clients when it comes to adopting media transformation, and how do you address them? Any speaker can talk about it.
So let me, at least for me, it's really around the authenticity of whatever thing is, right? In terms of whether is it real or is it generated? Is it not real? And so when you maybe question the authenticity of something, it's probably where things become questionable. And it really goes back to even the intellectual property of a thing. But I think that's one of the reasons why I think it's just equally important, because we know it's there now, right? Because we know AI is there now, that the AI to help check itself is also going to be critical. To Scott's point, you can't just pull out an image and assume that image you can use, right? So now you can use AI to kind of scrape the big ether and really look at all these data likes and determine that, hey, wait a minute, this content was actually generated by someone else, and you're going to essentially cross over this intellectual property rights. So I think that hesitation to adopt AI needs to be countered with the embracing of AI to counter that. Because if you don't do it, somebody else will. So you might as well embrace the capabilities both to generate and to check and inspect. That's kind of my take on it.
Very well said. Yeah. And the last question, I think, Kabil. Sorry, please go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to add as well. So as Cliff was mentioning, we also have tools that now we can not only say that if this is a open to use, if it is free license, but also we have tools that we can find out the AI generated media, if it is a deep fake, there are all of those tools these days that we can also use. So it's a game that if they are coming up, we are also building tools to make sure safety, privacy, and security are in place. So that's also something that we need to remember.
Thank you. And the last one, quickly, how can media and entertainment companies adapt their technology roadmap to navigate recessionary environment effectively? Scott, you want to try this?
I can tell you some of the things that we're doing is, one of the things Fox did was they bought Tubi, right? And they bought Tubi because they know that it's not necessarily the entertainment in recession environment. It's linear consumption, right? It's broadcast and cable versus just appointment viewing. Those days are gone. And it is more, you're the curator of your network, just like you form your Spotify list and your playlist and whatever. Same thing for your entertainment content in the form of audiovisual. So instead of us trying, it's ridiculous when I first got to Fox, which is just under 10 years ago, everyone's like, how can we get people back to television? I was like, why are they thinking of it this way? Aren't they thinking of it as, how can we get our content in front of them, right? And that's the new CEOs that took over shortly thereafter were like, we don't care where they watch it. We care that they watch it. We care that we can monetize it when they watch it. And so we're looking at the long tail. You have two parts. You have your original presentation, your initial presentation, which is your stream, your linear form. And then you have your digital presentation, which is anything afterwards. And those are the two halves that kind of make this whole. This one lets this one become popular. This one's where you can maybe generate more revenue because it's got a longer tail or it's open-ended. And so we have the licensing agreements with Hulu's or with Max or with Tubi or whatever, which is ad supported, right? And so advertisers are gravitating toward the ad supported on demand, AVOD, because they can reach people versus the gated, paywalls of subscription. So we're looking at it as, hey, we're embracing the fact that it's a changing period. And I know some of the other questions are about this. Hey, broadcast is definitely doesn't have the ratings it used to have. True. But the content is still, our animation content is seen far more on Hulu than it ever is on our air. And that's okay. Even though we put new shows out on Sundays that are animated, we know they will draft off of the popularity of that and become more vibrant in their delayed, digital or nonlinear viewing. We embrace it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And it's my privilege to have you guys on this panel today. Thank you so much for your valuable, we are on top of the hour. Back to you, Nitin.
Thank you, Ashish, and thank you to all the speakers for sharing their amazing ideas. I'm sure all the audience have a lovely time, and we had a lovely time as well. So just to wrap up, we extend our gratitude to all our community partners, the esteemed speakers, and the attendees who participated in this forum, which provided a platform for a lot of knowledge enrichment. Our panel speakers were exceptional, and we appreciate their willingness to come together and share their valuable insights. Further, if any one of you missed anything and wish to look back at the session, let me tell you that today's event was broadcasted on the YouTube page of our company. So you all can go and see the recording anytime. And if you're looking out for recent technological updates and advancements, log out to our website and like our social media channels. We'll be sharing lots of knowledge sharing topics, details, announcements of next events, and much more, which will help you register and attend the same. Before we pull the curtains on, we would like to thank InfoVision, which is our knowledge and innovation partner, and Digit7, which is our technology partner. To understand more in depth and connect with them, all of you can go through their website, which is infovision.com, and stay abreast with the technological advancements. Further, there are lots more in store for this year, with a focus on different industries like banking, financial, insurance, telecom, retail, healthcare, supply chain, manufacturing, energy, utility, and so on. So I request all of you to keep connected with us and enjoy the learning. It was a pleasure bringing this session to you, and we hope that you enjoyed it as much as we did. We look forward to having more sessions with you. Take care and have a lovely and great day ahead, and lovely weekend as well to all of you. Thank you for connecting.
Thank you, everyone.
Stay connected. Thank you, guys. Bye.